The first time I noticed something was wrong, I was wearing my favorite blue dress. It wasn't even a special occasion, just a Tuesday night, takeout from the Thai place we both loved, a bottle of wine that cost more than it should have. I'd put on the dress because I felt pretty in it. Because after 10 years of marriage, I still wanted my husband to look at me the way he used to.
Connor looked at me.
But he didn't see me. "You look nice," he said. Polite.
Distant.
The same tone he used with his coworkers. Then he turned back to his phone. I stood in the doorway of our Denver kitchen, suddenly aware of how much skin the dress showed. How silly I'd been to think it would matter. How long it had been since he'd really touched me.
6 weeks.
I'd been counting. Not that I wanted to count. But when your husband stops reaching for you, stops brushing against you in the hallway, stops pulling you close in bed, stops even the accidental touches that used to happen without thinking, you notice. You notice every single day. That night, I changed into pajamas before we ate. The dress went back in the closet.
Connor didn't ask why.
Another thing I noticed, he never asked anymore. We ate dinner in front of the TV like we always did. Some show about a couple renovating a farmhouse. The wife on screen kept touching her husband's arm, his shoulder, his hand. Little touches. The kind I used to give Connor without thinking. I couldn't remember the last time I'd touched him without thinking. Now, every touch felt calculated.
Heavy.
Like I was asking for something instead of just giving. After dinner, he cleaned up while I put our daughter Mia to bed. She was 6, all energy and questions and sticky fingers. I read her 2 stories, sang 1 song, and lay beside her until her breathing slowed. Then I went to our bedroom. Connor was already in bed, reading something on his tablet. The lamp on his side was on. Mine was off. I climbed in beside him, lay on my back, stared at the ceiling. For 10 minutes, neither of us moved. Then I rolled toward him, let my hand rest on his chest, felt his heartbeat under my palm. He didn't respond. "Connor?" "Yeah?" I waited for him to look at me.
He didn't.
"Is everything okay?"
Fine.
"Just tired." "You're always tired." He set the tablet down finally,
Turned to face me.
His eyes were soft, genuine, but there was something else there too. Something I couldn't name. "I know," he said quietly. "I'm sorry." Then he kissed my forehead, a kiss you'd give a child, and turned his light off. I lay awake for hours. The next morning, I pretended everything was normal. I made breakfast, packed Mia's lunch, kissed Connor goodbye before he left for work. He worked in cybersecurity, something complicated that I'd stopped trying to understand years ago. All I knew was that he made good money, worked long hours, and came home tired. Lately, he came home more than tired. He came home somewhere else. That afternoon, my friend Jenna called. "Drinks tonight?" "My treat." "I can't." "Mia. Connor's home, right? Leave him with her. You never go out anymore." She wasn't wrong. "Okay.
Fine."
1 drink. We met at a wine bar downtown. Jenna was already halfway through a glass when I arrived, her dark hair pulled back, her eyes sharp with the kind of energy that meant she had something to say. "So," she said as soon as I sat down, "tell me the truth. How are you?" "Fine." "Liar." I laughed despite myself. "I'm okay."
Tired.
"You know." "I know you're tired. I also know you've looked sad for about 3 months, and you keep saying it's nothing. So spill." I stared at my wine glass. "He won't touch me." Jenna's eyebrows shot up. "What do you mean, won't touch you?" "I mean, he doesn't. Not in weeks. Not really. He kisses my forehead sometimes, pats my shoulder, but actual touching, the kind that means something, it's just gone." "Have you talked to him about it?" "Last night. He said he was tired." "Every night. He says he's stressed. Work is intense. He's protecting some big project, I don't know. But it's been months, Jenna. Months of me feeling like I'm married to a ghost." Jenna leaned forward. "You think he's cheating?" The word hit me like cold water.
No.
"I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. He's not. He doesn't act guilty. He acts careful. Like he's walking on eggshells around me. That's weird." "I know." We sat in silence for a moment. "You need to push him," Jenna said finally. Not accuse, just push. Ask real questions. Don't let him say tired and walk away. I don't know if I'm ready for the answers. Maybe, but you're also not ready to live like this forever.
She was right. She was always right.
I went home that night with a plan. Connor was on the couch when I walked in, watching something on low volume. Mia was asleep. He'd put her to bed, which was rare and somehow made me sadder. Hey, I said, sitting beside him. Not too close. Close enough.
Hey.
Good night. It was fine. We sat in silence for a minute. Then I turned off the TV. He looked at me, surprised. We need to talk.
His face changed.
Just slightly. A tightening around his jaw. About what? About us. About why you won't touch me anymore. Connor looked away. Ran a hand through his hair, his nervous habit. I told you. I'm stressed. Work is. I know work is hard, but it's been months. Months of me feeling like I'm invisible in my own marriage. And I need you to tell me the truth. Not the easy answer. The truth.
He was quiet for a long time.
Long enough that I started to get scared. Connor? When he finally looked at me, his eyes were wet. I can't, he whispered. Can't what? Can't tell you. Not yet. I felt my stomach drop. What does that mean? He stood up. Started pacing. It means there are things you don't know. Things I've been protecting you from. And until I figure out how to handle them. Protecting me from what?
He stopped.
Looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Do you trust me? The question caught me off guard.
What?
Do you trust me? That I love you? That I would never hurt you intentionally? Yes. But that's not. Then trust me now.
Please.
I need time. A little more time. And then I'll tell you everything. I stared at him. Nothing about this made sense. If you love me, I said slowly, why won't you touch me? His face crumpled. Just for a second. Then he controlled it. Because touching you makes it harder. Makes what harder? He didn't answer. He walked to the bedroom and closed the door. I sat on the couch until 3 a.m., running his words over and over in my head.
Protecting you.
Makes it harder. Trust me. What was I supposed to trust? A man who wouldn't look at me? Who flinched when I got too close? Who had become a stranger in the body of my husband? The next week was worse. Connor came home later. Left earlier. When he was home, he was polite but distant. He helped with Mia. Did dishes. All the practical things. But he never touched me. Not once. I started watching him. Noticing things I hadn't before. The way he checked his phone constantly. The way he'd step out of the room to take calls. The way he looked at me sometimes, with something that looked almost like grief. One night, I couldn't sleep. I got up around 2 a.m. to get water. His phone was on the kitchen counter, screen lit up with a notification. I didn't mean to read it, but my eyes caught a name I didn't recognize. Asterisk Marcus. Status update on the situation? We need to move soon, asterisk. I stared at the screen. Marcus. Situation. Move soon. My husband was in cybersecurity. This could be work. This could be nothing. But why would a work contact text him at 2 a.m.? I heard footsteps behind me. Connor stood in the hallway, watching me look at his phone. That's not what you think, he said quietly. Then what is it? He walked toward me slowly.
Took the phone from my hand.
I can't tell you yet. You keep saying that, because it's true. He looked at me with same haunted expression. But soon, I promise, soon you'll understand everything. I don't want to understand. I want my husband back. He closed his eyes. I know. Then he did something he hadn't done in months. He pulled me into a hug. Not a quick one. Not a polite one. A real hug, tight, desperate, like he was trying to memorize the shape of me. I love you, he whispered into my hair. More than you know. That's why I'm doing this. Doing what? He pulled back, looked at my face for a long moment. Then he kissed me. Really kissed me. For one beautiful moment. Everything felt normal again. Then he stopped. I have to go, he said. Now? It's 2 a.m. I know. I have to. He grabbed his phone, his keys, a jacket from the hook by the door. Connor, I'll be back before Mia wakes up. I promise. He was gone before I could say another word. I stood in the kitchen alone, his words echoing in my head. That's why I'm doing this. Doing what? And why did it feel like my marriage was a secret he was keeping from me? Connor came back at 5:47 a.m. I know because I was sitting on the couch, exactly where he'd left me, watching the clock on the microwave tick from one impossible hour to the next. I hadn't moved, hadn't slept, hadn't done anything but stare at the front door and wait. When he finally walked in, he looked like he hadn't slept either. His eyes were red. His hair was messier than usual. His jacket was damp with morning dew. He stopped when he saw me. You're still up. Where were you? Work. At 2 a.m.? Emergency situation. I told you, the project I'm on is intense. I stood up, walked toward him, got close enough to smell him. Coffee, sweat, something metallic I didn't recognize. You're lying. He flinched. I've never lied to you, he said quietly.
No.
You just hide things, which is worse. He didn't argue. I need to shower before Mia wakes up, he said. Can we talk later?
No.
We can talk now. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he nodded. Okay. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten thousands of meals, celebrated birthdays, helped Mia with homework. It felt different now, like the furniture knew something I didn't. Tell me what's going on, I said. The truth. All of it. Connor folded his hands on the table.
Stared at them.
Do you remember when I switched jobs 2 years ago? Of course. You left the consulting firm for that cybersecurity startup. It wasn't a startup. I blinked. What? The company I work for, it's not a startup. It's a government contractor. Classified work. I stared at him. You're telling me you work for the government? Not exactly. I work for a company that contracts with the government. The project I'm on, it's sensitive. National security sensitive. Connor, that's insane. You're a cybersecurity guy. You fix firewalls. You don't. I do now. I sat back in my chair, tried to process. So the long hours, the stress, the secrecy, all real. All exactly what I told you, just without the details I couldn't share. And the not touching me?
His face tightened.
That's different.
How?
He was quiet for so long I thought he wasn't going to answer. About 4 months ago, something happened at work.
A breach.
Someone got into systems they shouldn't have. We traced it, contained it, thought it was over. But it wasn't. What do you mean? There were consequences. People were angry.
Specific people.
And they made threats. Threats against who?
He looked at me then.
Really looked. Against me. Against you. Against Mia. The world stopped. I heard the words, but they didn't make sense.
Threats.
Against my 6-year-old daughter. Against me. What? I've been protecting you the only way I knew how. Keeping distance. Making sure no one saw us together too much. Making sure if they were watching. Watching? Who's watching? I don't know exactly. That's the problem. We have intel that something might happen, but we don't know when or how or who. So I've been. You've been what? Living like a ghost in your own home? Staying away from your wife, so strangers don't target her. I've been trying to keep you safe. I stood up, started pacing. This is insane. This is, Connor, this is our life. You can't just decide something like this without telling me. I was going to tell you. When I had more information. When I knew more.
When?
When they actually showed up at our door. He didn't answer. I stopped pacing. Looked at him. Is that possible? Could they actually show up at our door? Connor's face was pale. I don't know. That's the truth. I don't know. But I couldn't take the chance. I couldn't let them see us together, see how much you mean to me, because if they knew, then they'd use us against you. He nodded. I sat down again. Hard. So everything, the distance, the coldness, the nights you came home and barely looked at me, that was all protection? Yes. And the not touching? The way you'd flinch when I got close. Every time I touched you, I felt like I was putting you in danger, like someone was watching and filing it away to use later. I thought about the past months, all those nights I'd cried myself to sleep, all those mornings I'd wondered what I'd done wrong, all that loneliness, that rejection, that slow erosion of my confidence. And it was because he was trying to keep me safe? Why didn't you just tell me? Because if they were watching, you needed to act normal. You needed to be hurt and confused and angry. You couldn't fake that. You had to feel it. I stared at him. You let me suffer for months, deliberately, because you needed me to look believable. I let you suffer to keep you alive. The words hung in the air between us. I wanted to be angry. I was angry, but underneath it, something else was stirring.
Fear.
Real, cold fear. Mia, I whispered. Does this affect Mia? He closed his eyes. She's the reason I finally decided to tell you. The threats mentioned her specifically. A family, they said. He stopped, swallowed. What did they say? They said they knew where she went to school. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the table. We have to leave. We have to take her and go. We can't. What do you mean we can't? Running makes us targets. Hiding makes us visible. The only way to end this is to catch them. And we're close.
We.
The team, the FBI, multiple agencies. We've been building a case for months. That's why I couldn't tell you. If you knew, you might accidentally do something that tipped them off. You might call a friend, post something online, react wrong at the grocery store. Any tiny thing could have unraveled everything. I thought about all the times I'd complained to Jenna, all the wine-fueled venting sessions, all the texts I'd sent. Oh God. It's okay. We monitored your communications, kept them clean. You did exactly what you needed to do. You acted like a hurt wife. That's what they expected to see. You monitored my texts. Not me. The team. It was necessary. I wanted to scream.
Cry.
Throw something. Instead, I asked the only question that mattered. When will this be over?
Soon. Days, maybe.
We have an operation planned. If it works, everyone involved will be arrested, and this whole thing ends. And if it doesn't work? He didn't answer. Connor. If it doesn't work, then we have contingency plans, safe houses, new identities, if necessary. But that's worst case. We're not there yet. New identities, safe houses. This was my life now. Action movie life. Spy thriller life. I was a marketing manager from Denver who couldn't remember the last time she'd had a full night's sleep, and apparently, I was also a target. Mia can't go to school today, I said. She can.
She has to.
Everything has to look normal. That's the most important thing right now, normal. Normal? Connor, someone threatened our daughter. I can't just send her to school like nothing's wrong. You have to.
For today.
Just today. Tomorrow, everything changes. How do you know? Because tomorrow is the operation. 24 hours. Can you do 24 hours? I looked at him, my husband, the man I'd been married to for 10 years, the man who'd been lying to me for months, but lying to protect me. I don't know. Then do it for Mia. Pretend for Mia. One more day. I thought about her little face, her missing tooth, her obsession with purple. One day. He reached across the table and took my hand. I flinched. He noticed. I know, he said quietly. It's going to take time. I pulled my hand back. Don't. He nodded. Accepted it. We sat in silence until Mia's alarm went off upstairs. That day was the longest of my life. I made pancakes, packed a lunch, walked Mia to the bus stop, and waved like everything was fine. Every second, I was scanning the street, looking for anything unusual, anyone watching. I saw nothing, but I felt everything. Connor went to work, had to, he said, to maintain normalcy. I stayed home, alternating between pacing and staring at the walls. Jenna called. I let it go to voicemail. My mom called.
Same.
I texted Connor constantly. Asterisk, you okay? Any updates? Asterisk. His replies were short. Asterisk, fine. Nothing yet. Stay inside. Asterisk. At 2:30, I walked to the bus stop to get Mia. My heart hammered the whole way. Every car that slowed down, every person who looked in our direction, I cataloged them, memorized them, waited for something to happen. Nothing did. We went home, made cookies, watched a movie. Normal things that felt surreal. At 6 p.m., Connor came home. One look at his face told me something had changed. "Come sit down," he said. Mia was in the living room, absorbed in her show. We stepped into the kitchen. "What happened?" "The operation moved. It's tonight." "Tonight?" "A few hours. There was a window, we had to take it." I felt the blood drain from my face. "What do I do?" "Nothing. Stay here. Keep Mia safe. Lock the doors. Don't open for anyone." "Connor." He pulled me close, held me tight. "I love you. I love her. I'm coming back." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." He kissed me, really kissed me the way he used to. Then he was gone. I locked the door behind him, leaned against it, and waited. The hours that followed were the longest of my life. I put Mia to bed at her usual time, 7:30, after 2 stories and a glass of water and the nightlight she'd needed since she was 3. She fell asleep quickly, oblivious to the fact that her world was hanging by a thread. I sat in the living room with all the lights off, watching the street, waiting. My phone was in my hand, ringer on max volume, screen brightness low. Connor hadn't texted since he left. I didn't know if that was good or bad. At 9:47 p.m., a car drove slowly down our street. I froze. It wasn't a car I recognized, a dark sedan, tinted windows, moving at maybe 5 miles per hour. It passed our house, continued to the end of the block, turned around and came back. Then it stopped, right in front of our house. My heart stopped with it. The engine cut. The driver's door opened. A man got out, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark jacket. He looked at our house for a long moment. Then, he started walking toward our front door. I didn't breathe, didn't move, didn't even think. He reached the front porch, raised his hand to knock. And then, lights. Flashing lights. Red and blue. Suddenly everywhere, reflecting off every surface. 2 more cars screamed onto our street, blocking the sedan in. Men in tactical gear poured out, weapons raised. "FBI, get on the ground. Now." The man on my porch dropped so fast, he looked like he'd been tackled by air. I watched through the window as they cuffed him, searched him, pushed him into the back of one of the SUVs. And then, from the chaos, a figure emerged. Connor, walking toward my front door. I unlocked it before he could knock, threw it open, stared at him. "It's over," he said. I collapsed into his arms. He held me for a long time, minutes, maybe hours, I don't know. The street slowly cleared. The flashing lights disappeared. The man in the dark sedan was gone. Eventually, we went inside. "We need to talk," Connor said gently. "All of it. Now." I nodded. We sat on the couch, facing each other. The man on our porch, his name is Viktor Karosek. He's part of a network that's been targeting my company for 2 years. They wanted access to the systems I protect. When they couldn't get in digitally, they decided to try a different approach. Us. Yes. They've been watching for months, gathering information, planning. Tonight, they were going to take you and Mia, use you to force me to give them what they wanted. I felt the words like physical blows. They were going to take my daughter? They were going to try. We stopped them. We've stopped all of them, the whole network. 12 arrests tonight, including the man who ordered the operation. Ordered the operation. I laughed bitterly, like it was business. For them, it was. I looked at him, really looked. "How long have you known about this?" "The real timeline, not the one you told me this morning." Connor held my gaze. 6 months. I pulled back. 6 months. I found out about the threats 6 months ago, but it took time to verify, to build the case, to get all the agencies involved. If we'd moved too fast, they would have disappeared and resurfaced later. We needed to get everyone. So, for 6 months, you've known that people wanted to kidnap your wife and daughter. And you said nothing. I couldn't. You couldn't or you chose not to? There's no difference. If I told you, you would have changed. You would have looked over your shoulder, been nervous in public, pulled Mia out of school. And they would have noticed. They had people watching, we didn't know who at first. Any change in behavior could have tipped them off. So I was bait. He flinched.
No.
You were protected. Every move you made, every place you went, we had eyes on you. You were never in real danger. I feel like I was in real danger. I feel like I've been in danger for months and didn't even know it. That was the point. You couldn't know. You had to live your life normally so they'd believe you were an ordinary family with no idea anyone was watching. Because we are an ordinary family. We are ordinary people, Connor. I'm a marketing manager. You fix computers. We have a 6-year-old who likes purple and can't tie her shoes yet. This isn't our life. He was quiet for a moment. It became our life the day I took that job. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the street where, an hour ago, a man had been coming to take my daughter. Tell me everything, I said. No more protecting me from the truth. I need to know what I've been living inside. Connor nodded, and he told me the job wasn't just cybersecurity. It was counterintelligence. He worked on systems that protected information so sensitive I didn't have a security clearance high enough to hear the details. The company he worked for was a front, part of a network of private contractors who did work the government couldn't do openly. 2 years ago, he'd been recruited, vetted,
Trained. And he'd said yes.
Why? I asked. Why would you do this? We had a good life, a normal life. Because normal life felt small. Because I wanted to do something that mattered. Because they told me I was good at it and I liked feeling good at something. I thought about all the nights he'd come home exhausted. All the times he'd been distant. All the moments I'd blamed myself for the growing space between us.
It wasn't me.
It was never me. What happens now? I asked. Now we go into witness protection. I turned from the window. What? Just for a while. A few months, maybe. Until the trial is over and everyone involved is convicted. They're all in custody now, but they have associates. People who might want revenge. We need to disappear until it's safe. Disappear? Like new names? New city. New everything. Temporary. Then we come back and resume our lives. Mia has school. I have a job. We have a house. The house will be watched. The school will be watched. It's not safe. I stared at him. You're telling me I have to leave my home, my life, everything I know, because of a job you took without telling me the truth about. I didn't know it would come to this when I took it, but it did. And now we all pay the price. He didn't argue. When do we leave? Tomorrow morning. A team will come at 6 a.m. They'll help us pack what we need. We'll be on a plane by noon. Where? I don't know yet. They'll tell us when we're in the air. That's how it works. I laughed again, the same hollow sound. Of course. How could I expect to know where I'm going? Connor stood, walked toward me. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But I need you to understand. Everything I did, every lie, every distance, every moment I pushed you away, it was to keep you alive. That's the only thing that mattered. Keeping you and Mia alive. I looked at his face. The face I'd loved for a decade. The face that had been lying to me for half that time. Did you ever think, I said quietly, that maybe I'd rather have known the truth and been scared than been kept in the dark and lonely? He didn't answer. Because I've been lonely, Connor. So lonely I started questioning everything about myself. My worth, my desirability, my place in your life. And all that time, you could have just told me the truth. I couldn't. You keep saying that, because it's true. I shook my head. I don't know if I believe you anymore. I don't know if I believe anything. I walked out of the room, went to Mia's bedroom. She was still asleep, curled around her stuffed rabbit, her face peaceful in the dim light. I lay down beside her, and for the first time in months, I cried. Not the quiet crying I'd done in the shower, in the car, in the dark after Connor fell asleep. Real crying, ugly and loud and desperate. I cried for the loneliness, for the confusion, For the nights I'd stared at the ceiling wondering what was wrong with me. And I cried because none of it was my fault. And somehow, that made it worse. Morning came too fast. I hadn't slept, hadn't even tried. I just lay beside Mia, watching her breathe, memorizing the shape of her in this room we'd decorated together. At 5:45 a.m., there was a quiet knock on the front door. Connor answered it. Two people came in, a man and a woman, both in plain clothes, both with the kind of calm efficiency that meant they'd done this before. "Mrs. Donovan," the woman said gently. "I'm Agent Phillips. We're here to help you pack." I nodded.
Didn't speak.
Mia woke up confused. "Mommy?"
Who are those people?
I knelt beside her. "Remember how we talked about adventures? Well, we're going on a big one today. A surprise adventure." Her eyes lit up. "Where?" "I don't know yet. That's part of the surprise." She loved that. While Agent Phillips helped me pack. Essentials only. Clothes, documents, a few personal items. Everything else will be stored safely. I moved through the house like a ghost. My kitchen, my living room, my garden, not mine anymore. By 9 a.m., we had 4 suitcases and a very confused cat in a carrier. By 10 a.m., we were in an SUV driving to an airport I didn't know existed. By noon, we were on a private plane, Mia thrilled by the novelty, me gripping the armrest and trying not to fall apart. Connor sat across from me, reached for my hand. I let him take it, but I didn't hold back. As the plane lifted off, I watched Denver shrink beneath us. Our house, our street, our life. I had no idea when I'd see it again, or who I'd be when I returned. The plane landed 5 hours later in a city I'd never visited. Boise, Idaho. I'd seen pictures once. Mountains, rivers, a downtown with old brick buildings. It looked like the kind of place people went to hike or retire or raise children far from chaos. Not the kind of place people went to hide. Agent Phillips traveled with us, along with 2 other agents I hadn't met before. They debriefed us on the plane, new names, new identities, new rules. I was now Claire Morrison. Connor was David. Mia was Lily, which was close enough to her real name that we hoped she'd remember it. We had an apartment waiting. A furnished 2-bedroom in a complex with a pool and a playground. Mia was thrilled about the pool. I was trying to be thrilled about anything. "You'll have new phones," Phillips explained as we drove from the airport. "Pre-programmed with emergency contacts. You can't call anyone from your old life. Not friends, not family. It's too risky. My sister knows you're safe. That's all she knows. Any more puts her at risk, too." I nodded, swallowed. "Work. We've arranged remote positions for both of you. Nothing connected to your old jobs. Data entry for you, Claire. IT support for David. Enough to live on, not enough to attract attention. Data entry." I had a master's degree in marketing. "How long?"
Connor asked. "Months.
Possibly longer. It depends on the trial. Months in a strange city, with a strange name, doing a job I was overqualified for, while my real life waited for me somewhere I couldn't reach it. Mia, at least, adapted faster than I did. By the second day, she'd made friends at the playground. By the end of the week, she'd stopped asking when we were going home. Lily fit her like a second skin. I envied her. The apartment was nice enough.
Clean. Modern.
Anonymous. The walls were beige. The furniture was generic. The whole place felt like a hotel room you could live in indefinitely. I hated it. But Connor and I moved through the days like polite strangers. We made meals, watched TV, slept in the same bed, but didn't touch. The distance that had started as protection was now just distance. One night, about 3 weeks in, I found him on the balcony, staring at nothing. "I brought you tea," I said, setting a mug beside him. He looked at me like he'd forgotten I existed. "Thanks." I stood beside him, looking out at the city lights. "Do you ever wonder," I said quietly, "if we'll make it through this? Through witness protection or through us?" "Both."
He was quiet for a long time.
"I wonder every day." And he turned to face me. "I don't know the answer. I know I love you. I know I did what I did to protect you. But I also know I broke something. and I don't know how to fix it. I thought about all the nights I'd cried, all the mornings I'd woken up next to a stranger, all the moments I'd blamed myself for something that wasn't my fault. You should have told me. I know, not just about the danger, about everything, about who you really were, what your job really was. You married me under false pretenses. I married you because I loved you. That was never false. But everything around it was. He didn't argue. We stood in silence until the tea went cold. The weeks turned into months. Summer became fall. The leaves in Boise turned gold and red, and Mia started second grade at a new school under her new name. She stopped mentioning her old friends, stopped asking about her old room. I couldn't tell if that was resilience or loss. Connor and I settled into a routine. We were civil, cooperative. We co-parented well, made decisions together, kept the apartment clean. But we didn't touch, didn't kiss, didn't talk about anything that mattered. I started therapy, video sessions with a counselor approved by the program. Her name was Dr. Sarah, and she specialized in exactly this kind of trauma. You're grieving, she told me during our third session. Not just your old life, but your old marriage, the one you thought you had. Was it ever real? The love was real. The lies were real too. Both things can be true. I wanted that to be enough. It wasn't. In November, we got news. The trial was over. Convictions on all counts. The network was dismantled. The threat was neutralized. We could go home. I expected to feel relief.
Joy.
Something. Instead, I felt nothing. We can return whenever you're ready, Agent Phillips said over the phone. Your house has been maintained. Your jobs are waiting. You can resume your lives. Our lives. The lives we'd had before. I looked at Connor across the apartment. He was watching me, waiting for my reaction. When do you want to go? He asked. I didn't know. We flew back to Denver the first week of December. The house looked exactly the same. Same furniture. Same photos on the walls. Same scuff marks on the floor for Mia's bike. It felt like a museum. Mia ran through every room, rediscovering her toys, her bed, her life. She was happy in a way I hadn't seen in months. I stood in the kitchen and didn't know what to feel. Connor came up behind me, stopped just short of touching. We should talk about us, he said. Yes. Tonight? After Mia's asleep? I nodded. That night, we sat at the kitchen table, the same table where he'd first told me about the threats. The same table where my world had cracked open. I know I hurt you, he began. I know I lied. I know the distance I created was real, even if my reasons were complicated. I waited. I'm not going to ask you to forgive me.
Not yet.
But I'm going to ask you to try to find a way back to each other. If you want to. Do you want to? More than anything. I looked at him. Really looked. He was older than when we'd married. Gray at his temples. Lines around his eyes. The same face I'd loved for a decade, now carrying the weight of everything that had happened. I don't know if I can, I said honestly. Every time I look at you, I think about the lies. The months of loneliness. The way you let me believe it was my fault. I know. I don't know how to trust you again. I know that too. Then what do we do? He reached across the table, left his hand there, palm up, waiting. We start here. We start now. We don't rush. We don't pretend. We just try. I looked at his hand, thought about all the times I'd wished for exactly this, for him to reach for me, to want me, to fight for us. I put my hand in his. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. The holidays were strange. We put up a tree, bought presents, did all the normal things. Mia was thrilled. Connor and I moved through the motions like actors in a play about a happy family. But small things started to change. He'd touch my shoulder when he passed, leave me coffee in the morning, ask about my day, and actually listen to the answer. I started to notice him again. The way he laughed at Mia's jokes. The way he fixed things around the house without being asked. The way he looked at me sometimes, carefully, hopefully, like he was afraid I might disappear. In January, we started seeing a marriage counselor. Dr. Reyes was patient and direct. She didn't let Connor off the hook for his lies, but she also didn't let me pretend my anger wasn't covering deeper pain. Trust isn't rebuilt in a day, she said. It's rebuilt in moments. Small moments where someone shows up, tells the truth, chooses you, over and over until the new pattern replaces the old. I started keeping a journal, not of feelings, of moments. Times when Connor showed up, when he was honest, when he chose me. It helped. Slowly, the list got longer. Spring came. Mia lost 2 more teeth. The garden I'd neglected for months started blooming anyway. Life kept going, whether I was ready or not. One night in April, Connor and I sat on the back porch after Mia was asleep. The same porch where I'd spent so many nights alone, staring at the dark. "I have something to tell you," he said. I tensed. "What?" "Nothing bad. Just something I've been thinking about." I waited. "I'm leaving my job." I blinked. "What?" "The government work. The contractor. All of it. I'm done." "Connor, I can't keep living like that. Can't keep putting you and Mia at risk. Can't keep lying about who I am and what I do. I want a normal life. The one we started with. The one I threw away." "But you love that work." "I loved feeling important. I loved the adrenaline. But I love you more. And I've spent the last year proving that in all the wrong ways. I want to prove it in the right ones now." I didn't know what to say. "I've already talked to a recruiter," he continued. "There's a private sector job waiting. Regular hours. No secrets. I'll come home every night and be present. Really present. If you'll let me." I looked at this man, this complicated, flawed, trying so hard man, and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. "Yes," I said quietly. "Let's try."
He reached for me.
This time I didn't flinch. Summer was different. Connor started his new job in June, normal hours, normal pay, normal everything. He came home at 6 p.m. every night. We ate dinner together as a family. He helped with bath time and bedtime and all the mundane things he'd missed for years. We started touching again. Small at first. A hand on the back. A kiss goodbye. Then more. Slowly, carefully, like we were learning each other for the first time. In July, we took Mia to the mountains for a week. Hiked. Swam in a lake. Sat around a campfire and told stories. One night, after Mia fell asleep in the cabin, Connor and I sat outside under more stars than I'd ever seen. "I used to think love was about big gestures," he said quietly. "Grand passions. Doing something that mattered. And now I think it's about this. Sitting here, being present, not lying, just showing up." I leaned into him. "It's enough," I said. "It is." We sat in silence, watching the stars. And for the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. The mountains changed something in us. Not dramatically. Nothing as simple as a single moment of clarity. It was more like the slow melting of ice that had frozen between us over years of secrets and distance. By the time we drove back to Denver, I could feel the difference. Connor reached for my hand while he drove. Not because he wanted something. Just because. I let him hold it. Mia talked nonstop from the back seat about the deer we'd seen, the rocks she'd collected, the esmores she'd eaten. Normal kid stuff. The kind of noise that used to irritate me during long drives. Now it sounded like music. August arrived with heat and thunderstorms and the kind of lazy afternoons that made you forget winter existed. I'd gone back to my old marketing job, the one I'd left when we fled, but something had shifted there too. The work felt smaller now. Less important. I started thinking about what I actually wanted. Not what I should want. Not what was expected. What I actually deeply, truly wanted. The answer surprised me. I wanted to write. Not marketing copy. Not reports. Real writing, stories, essays, the kind of things I'd been scribbling in journals for years but never showed anyone. I mentioned it to Connor one night, almost apologetically. "That's great," he said, and he sounded like he meant it. "You should do it." "I don't know how. I don't know where to start. Same way you do anything. One word at a time." So I started. Early mornings before Mia woke up. Late nights after she was asleep. I wrote about everything. The loneliness, the fear, the confusion, the slow rebuilding. I wrote about the night on the porch when I didn't know if my marriage would survive. I wrote about the moment on the mountain when I realized it might. I didn't show Connor any of it. Not yet. But writing it down made it real, made it manageable, made it mine. September brought the start of third grade and the first real test of our rebuilt life. Connor's old employer called. They wanted him back. A new project, different security protocols, better protections for families. They'd learned from what happened, they said. They could guarantee our safety this time. He told them no. I watched him hang up the phone, expecting to see regret on his face. Instead, I saw relief. That felt good, he said. Really? Really? I meant what I said. That life is over. I don't want it anymore. I believed him. That night, we made love for the first time in over a year. Not the careful, hesitant sex of newlyweds finding their way back. Something deeper. Something that felt like homecoming. Afterward, lying in the dark, I traced patterns on his chest. I think I'm finally here, I whispered. Here where?
Here. With you.
Not still stuck in the past. He kissed my forehead. I've been waiting for you.
I know.
I'm sorry it took so long. Don't be sorry. Be here. That's all I need. October brought a different kind of test. My sister Megan came to visit. She'd known the broad strokes, that we'd been in danger, that we disappeared, that we were safe now. But she hadn't seen us since before everything happened. The first night after Mia was asleep, she cornered me in the kitchen.
So,
how are you really? Really? I'm okay. Just okay? I'm learning to be okay. It's different. She studied my face. And him? You guys seem,
I don't know.
different together. We are different. We're figuring it out. Do you trust him? The question hung in the air. I'm learning to, I said finally. It's not the same trust one had before. That trust was blind. This one sees everything and chooses anyway. Megan nodded slowly. That sounds healthier, actually. Maybe. It's definitely harder. She pulled me into a hug. I'm proud of you. Whatever happens, I'm proud. I hugged her back and tried not to cry. November brought cold and the first snow of the season. I'd been writing steadily for months now, and something had shifted. The words were coming easier. The stories felt clearer. I'd even started submitting pieces to small publications, anonymously, just to see if anyone would read them. They did. More than I expected. One night, Connor found me staring at my laptop, overwhelmed by the comments on a piece I'd written about rebuilding after betrayal. What's wrong? Nothing. Just, people are reading my words. Real people. And they're saying it helps them. He sat beside me, read over my shoulder. This is beautiful, he said quietly. You're beautiful. I don't know what to do with it. Yes, you do. You keep going. I looked at him. How did you get so wise? Learned from my mistakes. He smiled. Took long enough. I laughed, really laughed, and it felt like coming home. December arrived with its usual chaos. Mia's school play, holiday parties, the endless pressure to be joyful and merry and present. But this year felt different. I wasn't pretending. One night, we were decorating the tree, the same ornaments we'd had for years, the same tinsel. Mia insisted on applying one strand at a time, and I looked at my family. Connor, hanging lights with more patience than I'd ever seen him have. Mia, carefully placing her handmade ornaments on the lowest branches. The cat, batting at a fallen icicle. This was my life. Not the one I'd planned. Not the one I'd expected. But mine. I stood in the doorway and let myself feel it. The gratitude.
The peace.
The love. Connor caught my eye across the room and smiled. A real smile. The kind that reached his eyes. I smiled back. That night, after Mia was asleep, we sat by the tree with glasses of wine. I have something to tell you, I said. His face flickered with concern. Good or bad? Good. I think. I took a breath. I've been offered a book deal. He stared at me.
What?
A small publisher. They read some of my essays. They want me to write a book about everything.
About surviving.
About rebuilding.
A book.
About us. About me. About what I learned. You're in it, obviously. But it's my story. My perspective. He was quiet for a long moment. Are you okay with that? I asked. Me putting our life out there? He took my hand. I'm okay with anything that makes you happy. You've earned that. I felt tears prick my eyes. It's not going to be easy. People will judge. They'll have opinions. Let them. They don't live here. I leaned into him. I love you, I whispered. I love you too. More than you know. We sat like that for a long time, the tree lights reflecting off the window, the snow falling softly outside. January brought the new year and a new rhythm. I wrote during the day now, not just early mornings. My marketing job had gently transitioned to part-time, then to freelance. The book was consuming me in the best way. Connor supported it completely. Made dinner on my late nights. Took Mia to school when I was on deadline. Never once complained. One evening, I found him reading one of my draft chapters. The one about the loneliness, the months of not being touched, the slow destruction of my self-worth. I froze in the doorway. He looked up. His eyes were wet. I'm so sorry, he said quietly. Connor, I knew it was hard for you. I knew you were hurting. But reading it like this, seeing the words, I didn't fully understand. What I put you through. You did what you had to do. That doesn't make it okay.
No.
But it makes it understandable. And we're here now. That's what matters. He set the pages down, pulled me into his arms. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. You don't have to. Just be here. That's enough. He held me tighter, and for the first time, I believed him. February was quiet. The book was almost done. Mia was thriving. Connor and I had settled into something that felt solid, not perfect, but real. We had date nights now. Actual planned evenings where we left Mia with a sitter and went out like real people. Dinners. Movies. Once, a concert. I started to remember who I was before the fear. Before the secrets. Before the loneliness. She was still there. Stronger now. March brought the book release. It was small, a tiny publisher, a modest print run, no big marketing campaign. But it was mine. The day it launched, I sat in our living room staring at the Amazon page. There it was. My name. My words. My story. Connor came home early with flowers and champagne. We're celebrating, he announced. It's just a book. It's not just a book. It's you.
Putting yourself out there.
Being brave. That's worth celebrating. Mia insisted on making cupcakes. We ate them while watching a movie. The three of us piled on the couch. I thought about that Tuesday night years ago. The one where everything changed. The one where I sat on the back porch alone, not knowing if my marriage would survive. If someone had told me then that I'd end up here, writing a book, rebuilding a life, actually happy, I wouldn't have believed them. But here I was. April brought something unexpected. An email from a woman I didn't know. Dear Claire, if that's your real name, I know it's your pen name. I read your book in 2 days. I couldn't put it down. Not because it was thrilling, but because it was me. Your words were my words. Your pain was my pain. My husband has been distant for months. He says it's stress. He says he's protecting me. After reading your story, I started asking different questions, pushing harder. And I found out he's been hiding something too. Not the same as your husband, nothing dangerous, but secrets, big ones. I don't know what's going to happen to us, but I wanted to thank you for making me feel less alone, for giving me permission to ask hard questions, for showing me that women survive. Thank you. I read the email 3 times. Then I showed it to Connor. See, he said softly, this is why you wrote it. I didn't know it would reach people like this. That's the point. You don't know. You just put it out there and let it find who needs it. I wrote back to her that night. A short reply, just thank you, and keep going, and you're stronger than you know. It felt like the smallest thing. It felt like everything. May arrived with blue skies and warm evenings, and the sense that summer was waiting just around the corner. Mia had a recital. She was learning piano now. Badly, but enthusiastically. We sat in the front row and cheered louder than anyone. Afterward, walking to the car, she held both our hands and swung between us.
Mommy? Daddy?
Yeah, baby. I'm glad we're a family. I looked at Connor over her head.
Me too, I said.
Me too, he echoed. That night, after she was asleep, we sat on the back porch. The same porch where I'd spent so many nights alone. Do you ever think about that night?
I asked.
The one where you first told me about the threats? Every day.
Me too.
It's like a before and after line in my head. He nodded. But I don't hate it anymore. I continued. That night, I used to think of it as the worst thing that ever happened to us. Now I think it was the thing that forced us to get real. Get real? Before, we were coasting, comfortable, not really seeing each other. After, we had to fight, had to choose, had to decide if we were worth it. Are we? I looked at him. This man who'd lied to me, who'd kept secrets, who'd let me believe I was the problem. But also this man who'd risked everything to protect me, who'd given up the work he loved to keep us safe, who showed up every day now, trying, learning, loving. Yeah, I said. We are. He pulled me close. We sat like that for a long time listening to the quiet, watching the stars. And somewhere deep inside, I felt something settle.
Peace.
Real peace. The kind that comes not from having a perfect life, but from accepting the one you have. The scars and all. The hard parts and all. The beautiful, messy, complicated truth of it. The book kept selling. Not millions, nothing like that. But steadily. Word of mouth. Readers finding it and passing it on. I kept writing. Essays, mostly some short stories. A second book started forming in my mind.
Connor kept his normal job.
Came home every night. Was present in ways he'd never been before. Mia kept growing.
Kept thriving.
Kept being exactly the person she was meant to be. And me? I kept becoming. Not the woman I was before. Not the woman I thought I should be. Just me. The one who survived. The one who rebuilt. The one who learned that sometimes the worst moments become the beginning of your strength. One evening in late May, I stood at the kitchen window, watching Connor push Mia on the swing set he'd built in the backyard. She was laughing. He was laughing. The sun was setting behind the mountains, painting everything gold. I thought about that Tuesday night years ago. The one where everything changed. The one where I sat alone on the porch, not knowing what would happen next. If I could go back and talk to that woman, the scared, lonely, confused woman I used to be, I'd tell her something. I'd tell her to hold on. I'd tell her that the pain wouldn't last forever. I'd tell her that the man she loved wasn't who she thought he was, but that didn't mean he wasn't worth loving. I'd tell her that she was stronger than she knew. I'd tell her that someday, she'd stand at this window and watch her family play and feel nothing but gratitude. I'd tell her it was worth it. All of it. The phone buzzed on the counter. An email from another reader. Your book saved me. I smiled. Set the phone down. Went outside to join my family.